Are you looking for insurance in the state of Florida? Well, today you're not going to find it, not with a named storm in the Gulf and with several other storms behind it. After this storm, of course, insurance will be available, but it's still challenging to get insurance in the state of Florida, homeowners insurance. So I want to talk about hurricanes and insurance when it pertains to the state of Florida. To introduce myself, my name is Troy Funk, and it's Funk, F-U-N-K, Funk. I'm a licensed real estate broker in the state of Florida. I've been in sales going on 40 years, and I'm also the broker owner of Realty One Group Skyline on the central west coast of Florida. Our office sells property all over the state of Florida. And with that, I want to just dive right into hurricanes, because we have a hurricane out there right now. And what does this mean to Florida? Well, I've been a resident of Florida for over 40 years, and I've gone through a lot of hurricanes. And right now I am on Siesta Key, Florida, and it's interesting. I'll kind of spin around here, and you can see this sand is amazing. It's actually a quartz sand. Now, Siesta Key is considered by some to be a very sacred place for hurricanes, as hurricanes just don't come here. In fact, there's a history that talks about the Indians would come to Siesta Key during a hurricane because they believe this was a sacred place. Now, it's interesting because the 40 plus years I've been here in Sarasota, I have not experienced hurricanes right here in Sarasota. We get tropical storms, we get a lot of heavy weather, but a direct hit from a hurricane, not in my lifetime here in Sarasota, but I have experienced many hurricanes. I own property down in Port Charlotte, and as many of you know, Port Charlotte has gotten hit twice with a hurricane, or in that area, in the time period that I've lived here. And challenging having real estate in Port Charlotte when a hurricane hit, because I learned a lot about hurricanes, insurance, and how that applies, that if you do have insurance, what does that look like in the state of Florida? Now, insurance, of course, is about calculated risk. Insurance companies are calculating, they're going to make profit on the idea that the odds are in their favor. They're going to profit from the situation. Well, that has not always happened. In fact, as many of us know, a lot of the insurance companies have gone broke. Their calculated risk of insuring those has not done well, and as such, they've paid out more claims, and they have resources to do that. That becomes very problematic in a hurricane. So what happens when you're trying to find insurance in Florida? Well, this has become very challenging, and I want to just regress a little bit about a situation I have. I have a rental property, and it's a home I've had for a while. Had insurance on it. The house needed a new roof, and I had my insurance paid up till the end of this month, and the insurance was coming due. So before it became due, I knew that I was going to have to price quote to get insurance. I was hoping, I knew the insurance was going to go up. I just didn't know how high that insurance would go up. I put on a brand new roof. I had a 4-point inspection done, and I look pretty good, right? So here I am. I had insurance on a roof that needed to be replaced, and I'm repricing insurance with a brand new roof. What is my insurance going to be? I was hoping that it would stay the same. Honestly, with insurance having gone up, having invested in a new roof, my insurance should be the same, right? Because the house is much better than it was prior to the expiration of this insurance coming up. Well, I got shocked because the insurance company actually sent me a letter and said, we're going to cancel your insurance. We're not going to renew your insurance. Even with my new roof, and even with the 4-point inspection and everything that I did to price quote this out, they were not going to renew the insurance. Now, that was a little disappointing, but they did refer me to another company that would insure the house. Gave them the information, and what was my quote? It was literally about double from what I was paying with a new roof, having the 4-point inspection, from what I was paying a year. Now, this could be very problematic, because look at it this way. This insurance, when your insurance doubles, how does that get absorbed? How does that get paid for? Now, if you have a mortgage on the property and your lender is escrowing your mortgage payment, that means that, yes, they will pay the bill initially, but they're charging you on your mortgage payment. You're paying for it eventually. So that ultimately means that your mortgage can go up quite a bit. In many cases, hundreds of dollars. So you're paying a mortgage payment, and all of a sudden you get a $200 plus increase in your mortgage payment, and you have no say in it. Well, or do you? You have a little bit on what's possible when you're getting insurance here in Florida. And I talked to the insurance agent. I said, okay, well, what's possible? Because insurance is a risk. It's a calculated risk. And there's a point where I can self-insure myself. And what do I mean by self-insurance? Well, it's the deductible. If you raise the deductible on your insurance obviously goes down, but you're becoming self-insured for that. So meaning that I would be responsible for the amount of the deductible, and if I have the money, then I'm self-insured for that point. Well, I've always believed that's a good policy for insurance, is to become as self-insured as you can on insurance. Of course, you need it for the calculated risk that, do I have the money to rebuild the house, or is it just smarter to invest and take that risk that if I need it, that the insurance company will be able to absorb it if they have money, right? I don't trust the system, and as such, I want to become as self-insured as possible, especially with insurance. So the deductible amount, when I raised the deductible on that insurance, my insurance then went down $800. When you calculate $800 for the life of a mortgage, in essence, and you own multiple houses, you could end up paying a house off from just that deductible. Of course, you're liable for it, but I'm okay with being self-insured. I feel like it's a better risk for me, and it reduces the insurance, but it's still high. Insurance is still high. It's also causing Florida to become more expensive to live, and that's where a lot of people are frustrated. Like, sure, I could find a house in Florida, but let's be real, the interest rates doubled in the course of a year. They keep going up, and your insurance keeps going up. How am I going to afford to buy a property in Florida? Well, it is true. The entry to get to Florida has become much tighter. Now, a couple years ago, we have seen some of the biggest migration of people moving to Florida that I've ever seen, especially from the state of California, where I was born and raised. Now, it's kind of funny because when I think about California and I talk about living in Florida, a lot of people from California, or my prior life in California, would say, I would never live in Florida because you have hurricanes. Why would you live somewhere where you have hurricanes? Well, hence, California just had a big hurricane, right? California had a hurricane, and I don't think a lot of people in California carry hurricane insurance. So, it's one of those things that we can't control life. There's things that we can control and not control. I keep within that realm. As I said, I can't control the fact that insurance is high. Can I keep it low? I can at least do my part. I self-insure, and I'm happy here in Florida. Florida is a beautiful place, and yes, hurricanes are a downside. They happen. Right now, I am on Siesta Key, and I'm standing on quartz sand. This is crushed quartz, and Siesta Key is really a magical place when you come here because the sand is cool and the water's warm, and a lot of people come to Florida for exactly what Siesta Key represents. But what's interesting about Siesta Key is you can actually do your own research. There's a lot of history with Siesta Key. A lot of people believe that this island, this quartz sand island, is actually a protected place from hurricanes. Ironically, I've been here 40 plus years, and Sarasota has not had a direct hit. Now, my home's in Port Charlotte. Yes, they have had hurricanes. And what did that look like when I owned a house in Port Charlotte that got hit by a hurricane? Well, way back when, that was Hurricane Charlie. And when Hurricane Charlie came to Florida, it was interesting because the hurricane was going down. The hurricane was actually supposed to hit Tampa. It was all projections going to Tampa, and Tampa was all boarding up. And out of nowhere, it took a direct right and smashed into Port Charlotte. Now, when I saw this going on, I was like freaking out, like, I own real estate there. I own real estate in Port Charlotte, and my homes are being destroyed right now. You could see it. You could see the hurricanes going right through Port Charlotte. What is that going to look like? Well, it was interesting because right after that, of course, it was barricaded. You couldn't get into Port Charlotte. The police weren't letting people in because there was so much destruction. But I showed them, look, I'm a landlord, I own a house there, I need to check on my house. And I was pretty fortunate because I actually own 2 homes in Port Charlotte. One needed a brand new roof. And it was ironic because it was an older home, it needed a brand new roof. And when I went there, of course, the shingles were peeled off the roof, but the house was fine, so it needed a new roof. Insurance company, I just had to pay the deductible and I got a brand new roof. Now, I feel like I won in that situation, but that's not what insurance should be about. It shouldn't be a winning situation, but I did, it worked out in my favor because I got a new roof on that house. The other house got destroyed. The insurance eventually took care of it. It was weird because the windows were damaged and the house was then boarded up. The tenants would not leave. They basically lived in this boarded up house that with hurricane damage because they couldn't find another place to live. So I didn't lose a tenant and the work was done and the insurance covered it. Now insurance is becoming more difficult in the state of Florida. It's become so expensive, but it's the cost of living here in paradise. And is it worth it? It's worth it for me because I love Florida, I love California, but I don't know if I would live in California with the hurricanes now. Well, I take that back because they also have earthquakes and we don't have earthquakes here in Florida. Let's hope not. But of course, Sarasota is a magical place. I like Florida. We are living in the tropics and the tropics have hurricanes. Insurance is a problem. It's becoming more expensive to live in Florida. It's important to have a house. It's important to own real estate. And yes, in Florida, it's challenging because the insurance may seem extremely high in Florida and making Florida unaffordable. Now, when you're evaluating insurance in the state of Florida, you have to look at the big picture because, for example, I'm a resident of Florida. I'm a full-time resident, but when I retire, I have that dream that so many other people live where they have a home in Florida for the winter and they have a home up north during the summer. And that home for me would probably be Connecticut. And I love Connecticut for a lot of reasons. And knowing that maybe that's going to be my second home state one day, I'm pre-shopping Connecticut, right? And we found a home a couple weeks ago. We were up there and really a nice house. And my lady guessed. She said, how much do you think this house is? And she said, I think it's probably $600. And I said, well, it's actually $400. I mean, it's a good price for this home. But, you know, the thing that surprises me coming from Florida is the insurance in Connecticut is considerably less, but the property taxes up there, wow, they are so high. I mean, when you equate how much you pay for property taxes, compared to owning a house here, I think it's still less expensive to own a house here than it is Connecticut. Now, everyone's decision in life is different. I mean, depending on your job, your time in life. As I'm in my later 50s now, you know, I'm looking at the possibility of value. What makes the most sense? Florida, yes, expensive, quality of lifestyle, amazing. For that, I will pay for the insurance. However, I'm gonna make sure I have high deductibles and live the best life I can. So, again, my name is Troy Funk. It's Funk, F-U-N-K. I'm a licensed real estate broker in the state of Florida. My website will show you homes for sale all over the state of Florida. If you're looking for a new home, there's a resource to look at new homes throughout the state of Florida. Or if you're looking for an existing home for sale, there's an advanced search that allow you to look at property as well. So I encourage you to go on my website, look at real estate if you're coming down here. I'll help you find insurance. And with that, I'm closing out. I wish you well and hope to see you on my next video.